I could go for even 7 days non-stop without sleeping. So when you drop a pin or a shindano ya kushona, when you drop it at the door there at the entrance, I'll hear the ground vibrating. That is how strong the nerves in your brain are, because you've not been sleeping. You are in pain. Every part of the body, mpaka kucha, mpaka nywele, is in pain. You'll meet people who knew you before you were sick. And now here they are, they want to see mtu chizi anakaanga hivi. Mwingine, some, even in the environment I was living, cheneni na huyu anakuanga mwenda wazimu. And that used to drive me bonkers. Me, up to now, I'm afraid of stigma much more than the disease itself. My name is Cate Wambui, and I was born and brought up in Nairobi, in Langata constituency. At some point, my dad and mom separated when I was still young, so I was brought up solely by my mother. I've been battling with mental illness for 14 years. So severe was the situation, was the illness, that at some point, many times actually, I have harmed myself. I have cut myself with sharp objects. I have plucked my hair, and when I say pluck, I mean it's not only the hair, but even the hair follicles, left scars in my head. It wasn't easy to understand what I was going through, and at the same time, it wasn't so visible for people out there to see, but I was suffering and struggling so much. I tried to look for solution, even during treatment, thinking that I'll get well, but there are times it was so severe, and I have attempted suicide, not once, not twice, not thrice, and most of the times I've been saved by my young son, just by sheer luck of him being there right from school at the right time. The lowest of lows is when I realized I had to drink my own urine because of the way I was sick. I've reached a point where I couldn't write my name on an insurance form or on any platform because I couldn't remember my names. In 2007, January, I had a breakdown. At that time I was going through a lot, but I didn't understand like what exactly was going on. Before then, I was having issues with ulcers. From time to time, there were some admissions here and there. But at one time, in a routine clinics, one doctor told me, you need to sit down and find out what's going on in your life, because when you see such a problem with such a young person, the problem may not be the ulcers per se, but it is because of some issues you're going through. Off and on, I was having problems with sleeping. So if you don't sleep, usually you get headaches. So I could take painkiller like aspirin or Panadol, go to sleep, try and sleep, get some sleep, but I just couldn't sleep. So you're not sleeping, you're waking up to go to work. It was a business. It wasn't demanding during the weekdays, but in the weekend it was very demanding. So one day on a Monday, I remember it was on a Monday, I decided I want to go to work. I want to go to do the stocking, because for 2 days I hadn't slept at all. And in retrospect, even before I had episodes of not sleeping. I didn't know that it was dangerous not to sleep. So that Monday morning, when I was at home, somebody offended me in the place I was living, and to tell you, I lost it. This is what I'm talking about by breakdown, because 1 minute I was having ringing in the head, and it's like the thoughts were racing and the heart was beating and I was sweating. And the next minute, when I digested the words that the confrontation we had with that person at home in Riruta, I lost it. I went berserk. I started tearing my hair. I started scratching my head and shouting. I flung and threw everything in the house. It was awful, and I started crying and screaming, and the funny thing, I wasn't feeling any pain. But I realized that I had cuts and bruises. My son was around 4 years old then. He was in school, and I had a house help. But she didn't know what to do, I believe, because some of these encounters, I came to realize later exactly what happened. So the people who were living within the compound, they came, and one of the ladies I had, she said, this is depression, and these symptoms, I know them, and she needs help. And because some of the people there, they knew what had transpired, they made the house girl call for my family, my husband. My husband was at work, but then he was still working in Nairobi. So this person has gone to work in the morning, has left me sleeping because I've been working for the weekend, and now in the afternoon he's being called that Kate is unwell, and she's having problem. Nobody wants to even touch her. So I went for the knife and started cutting my wrists. So when my son came, I believe he came and found me. He saw me. That's the first time my son saw me like that. Bloody. Crazy. Like I wasn't in this world. I had to be restrained. When finally help came, I had to be restrained. My mother wasn't far away, and she came with a relative, and I had to be restrained. And the funny thing about this is that you get strength that is not normal. I understand from what I had to be trained by about 5 people, and by then I was petite, and I had to be taken to the hospital, and it was not an easy thing. But in retrospect, I think and I believe from the experience I have now, that was in 2007 January. So there were those issues even when I gave birth to my son, but I didn't understand what was going on in me. And naturally, I'm a person who loves reading, and I love creative writing. I'm a writer. So you read books and encounter some of these symptoms, but I just swallowed. Because I didn't know, I didn't get the help that I needed, even the support in the place I was living that time, to understand. You know, if you have somebody who's knowledgeable, some problems are easily managed or handled, because you know this is natural, this is going to pass. So there wasn't anything like that. It's about reading books. That time there wasn't much. Internet was only available in town. So after all that struggle and the damage, my husband came with the driver from place of work, and with my mom, I was taken to hospital. During the drive to the hospital, I was rambling and I was saying things, and I was like, it's like I was saying the pain I've been going through. The pain I was experiencing was so severe that I came to understand it is only through self-harming that you could relieve it. So they had a difficult work, the house girl and some of the neighbors, to hide anything sharp and to hold me down. And believe you me, just as you people get strength that is not normal. Believe me, being held together by somebody, you are about 60 kgs, but it takes 5 people, 3 men, 2 women to hold you down. You see the kind of energy you have, but it is not positive energy, it's negative. I destroyed things in the house. The good thing is that I had very good furniture, old school, so lifting it was a problem, but I destroyed things in the house. So I'm taken to hospital. There's nobody else around there who's accompanying me apart from the driver, my mom, my cousin, my husband, yeah, and a lady. And because of the effects of what I was feeling, it was on the 4th day that I realized where I was. And I was trapped on the bed at Nairobi Hospital. I was dazed because of the medication I was given. And that is the time I began my journey with mental illness. So the first thing that came into my mind, despite being dazed because I was medicated properly, remember this person who, the house girl, I think they gave the history, I wasn't sleeping. And the doctor, I had a very, very good, competent doctor. May God bless him. Because he noticed the problems immediately. And the first part of me not even waking up as well, it's because of not sleeping for many days, plus the treatment I was given to help me sleep and calm down. Because you see now I'm self-harming, I'm not in an institution, they have to strap me on the bed because I'm suicidal. So when I woke up, the first thing I asked, there was a lady who was employed to take care of me, like a caregiver. So she was the one who was taking everywhere you're going, to the washroom, to the bathroom, and that door has to be left ajar or she's in the room with you. That is the extent of the ailment. Justus, she had to be there with you. She was like a shadow. So when I woke up, the first thing I asked was, what are these? No, you have to stay with this thing. Then who are you? Why are you in my space? And she was like, no, calmly, I have to be here because you're here. And they have to use high-end language, not to tell you you are mentally ill, but on the same time to show you that you are not well, and the ailment you're having, it's not pneumonia or asthma or TB. So, once again, I became wild. And they came, remember I have strains, and remember I have bandages. So I'm harming myself, I'm bleeding. The nurse, one of the nurses came, I believe she was trained in psychiatry. So she helped me to calm me down. She wasn't able to, so I was given another shot of injection. So by time when the doctor came is when he sat me down. My doctor told me, this is what is going on, but don't delve on it, because I was asking so many questions. There's some things I can't remember, and we'll get into that much later about issues with memory. So I had to accept, not to accept, to hear him. Let me use the word hear him, not accept. So, and I told him, how long am I going to take medication? I told him, don't think about it, don't overthink. Just take your meds, you will be well. So I told them, the first thing when I came to realize myself, I wanted my son. My son is the apple of my eye. He's been through a lot. We've been through a lot together. And I went bonkers because I was not seeing my son. So he had to be brought in the hospital, and they did a special arrangement so that I can be able to see him. But I was dazed, remember, because of medication. And when I saw my son, something in me triggered, something in me just told me, you have to get well out of this because of this boy. Because he's a very bright boy, brilliant young man, and he was asking me question, Mama, why are you here? Why are your hands bandaged? Why? A lot of questions. And I told him, son, I'm going to come home. So I talked to the doctor and promised to take my medication, and I asked him what I can do to get better. I was released from hospital about 10 days later. I stayed in hospital for 10 days, thereabout. The funny thing, I realized what I was suffering from much later. Because that moment I wasn't told, even when I was leaving hospital. But I could see when I came to, when I started coming to, that room is usually about 4 people. The bed is usually for 4. The bed capacity is for 4 people. We put in four beds per space. So when I look at my neighbor, the way she was behaving, and then there was another lady older by then, and another lady here, it dawned on me. It's not the doctor who told me what was going on. It's not the nurses. Me, I was just told you're having a breakdown. That's why I used that statement on here, this platform. So when I saw that lady, I won't mention her name, but the way they were behaving. I told you I love reading books. So I read widely psychology, law, all that. So I knew automatically this room is specifically for this kind of people. I had requested to be transferred and I was told you can only be in a ground floor ward. Why? Because remember I came in with the breakdown, so you're suicidal. They're not telling me, but they know a lot without telling me. So you cannot be transferred. So I didn't want to be in this room with these people. Let me use that language. My son cautions me against using that statement, but yeah, these people. Yet I'm one of them. I didn't know. So I wasn't transferred. I had to stay in the ground floor. So when I was leaving, there's this thing called discharge summary. That discharge summary, it was written depression and PTSD disorder. The doctor had discharged me and he had left. He's a very busy doctor. But one of the nurses, they came to talk. They have our counselors who were coming. That is how slowly, the way, subtly, like it's like dropping one drop at a time. You see how things are going. That is how it came to sink that I'm suffering from depression. So when I left hospital, I went home. Remember the distraction that was in the house. I'm going back to the same environment. And believe you me, a month later I was back in hospital. I attempted suicide. I took a rope, hung it on the roof of my house, and decided to jump from the bed. Somebody, a relative who used to visit a lot, is the one who saved me. He came in the nick of time because the girl had just left. And I had to be taken back to hospital. And that is the time I've had another breakdown, because now the reality hit me. I am mentally ill. It wasn't something I was expecting. Believe me, when I grew up in Kibra, we came from a community. I came from an environment whereby even me speaking my mother tongue is sometimes a challenge, because where I grew up, we were people from different backgrounds. So you live like brotherhood. So when you see somebody who's lost it, let me use that language. Mainly it was because we were like kitu ya mtu. Growing up as a child, growing up schooling in Jamhuri, those people, though, I used to see them. We used to see them. But you see, even without mentioning these communities, there are those dominant communities where I come from. There's another community, the Luo, and then there's the Nubian community. That environment, growing up in late 80s, early 90s, you are taught not to take somebody's thing, because if you do that, utakuwa kama mtu fulani. So here I am. I'm taking antipsychotics. Miss Jaiba kitu ya mtu. And then this second time I was in hospital, there are people who are in the same ward. Now it was my file was written suicide watch. So what you're eating, even the spoons, the knives, everything, it had to change. But that time I didn't realize those things sunk later. We're going to the washroom, a nurse is following you, he's just hovering. Let me use that, hovering. I was given a different course of treatment. Remember, already I was on those meds. Usually, to be treated for depression, you have to take medication. Standard treatment is 6 months. every day for 6 months. But now I've worsened. Yet I've been on treatment for 1 month. So the regime of treatment had to change. The same body. When you are depressed, first of all, my issue is not sleeping. I could go for even 7 days non-stop without sleeping. So when you drop a pin or a ishinda na kushona, when you drop it at the door there at the entrance, I'll hear the ground vibrating. That is how strong the nerves in your brain are, because you've not been sleeping. I can hear a vehicle vibrating from as far as I don't know what, because you've never settled, you've never slept, and I could not sleep. And that is why later you'll realize that I was put on very powerful treatment, such that, you see this thing people call mchele. Some of those meds are, you'll be surprised. I can show you my medical report. Some of the meds that people at unakiwa mchele ka pinch. Me, I used to take, there's this medication called midazolam or domicam. You take 2, and you still have an injection of that one, and another one called Stilnox, and still you're not sleeping. You see, I had to be given a treatment for, a higher treatment for something much serious, yet you're dealing with depression. So this is the time the doctor changed it to major depressive disorder. Major depressive, not just depression. There's depression and then there is major depressive disorder, MDD. And it is a very, very severe illness, form of mental illness. It is debilitating. First of all, you don't sleep, you don't eat, you are never happy, you are in pain. Every part of the body, mpaka kucha, mpaka nywele, is in pain. So I was in pain, yet I'm a very hardworking person. So the second treatment, after treatment I went home. I didn't stay in hospital for long. I went home. My son has been my pillar, because every medication I've taken, everything I've done, it is for the betterment of my son and the well-being of my son. And that is how I started my journey. Immediately from 60 kgs, I shot up to around 8 kgs in a month. Because the medication I was taking, the side effects was weight gain. Unakula kaa like there's no tomorrow. Now here I am. I've put on weight. The medication is so strong. It reached a point I had to be injected, given an injection. There's a monthly injection of medication like fluanxol and ciprox. Some of those meds, they are so strong. And it reached a point I used to take even up to 10 tablets in a day. So I used to be so tired. It is 6:30 in the morning and I am so tired. I want to wake up and go to work, but I am nimechoka juu ya zile dawa na meza. The person who inspired me to get well is the boy, because sometimes he used to look at me like with sadness in the eyes, and I came to realize when he told me that I had changed so much. So I went to the doctor and talked to him, and he told me, you can get well, but it is up to you. So over time we started discussing the treatment. I don't want this, I don't want this is inanifanya nisikie hivi. Accepting that I have that problem partially helped me, but I did not accept myself 100%, interestingly. So I went for the 6 months treatment, and I got well. And I went back to work. Now I started working on my weight. But you see, when you get mentally ill, it is like a fork. There has to be a reason, an underlying problem. My doctor was very, very thorough, because there's a time he called my husband and my mom, and they had a sit down. So he wants to know the root cause. Between 2007 and 2011, when I came to shift from where I was living, I think every year I used to be admitted even twice, until we shifted from that place we were living. Already this disease has set in. So when we talked to the doctor over time, it was environment. These problems, one, it can be environmental. Mazingira yenye unakaa, the people you are living with. How are they appreciating you? Environment can be even your work environment. You are in a toxic working environment. You are in a toxic marriage. You are in a toxic relationship with your father. Toxic relationship with your own children. That can push you into that, believe you me. Some people, they have a history, just as a history of mental illness in their family, but it's been hidden. So when you go to the doctor, a doctor who is as thorough as my doctor, he will ask you, do you have family history of schizophrenia, of MDD, major depressive disorder? Do you have history of any mood issues? And the family might say no. But you'll hear there's an aunt, there's an uncle, there's a grandma, there's a grandfather who's committed suicide. See? So, over time, the medication started taking a toll on my body. Here I am, I've graduated into being given monthly injections. You ugonjwa isikii dawa. So there's a hiatus. After treatment for 6 months, you will go home. You will stop taking medication, but you'll continue with the clinics, and you're supposed to go for physiotherapy and psychotherapy. Part of the physiotherapy was like doing swimming. It helps a lot. Hydro exercises are very good. But there's a time you don't want to go to that pool. Why? You'll meet people who knew you before you were sick. And now here they are. They want to see mtu chizi anakaanga hivi. Some, even in the environment I was living, cheneni na huyu anakuanga mwenda wazimu. And that used to drive me bonkers. It used to push me. And part of me going through that was, it's like I was in a world alone. So my business was affected a lot. Sometimes when you are unwell, you have to leave people at work because you want to rest. Remember, you are taking up to 8 to 10 meds a day. And there's an injection you are taking monthly. So you end up being so tired. There's a time, because you haven't slept well for 2 days, you have to make sure you're sleeping so that you don't go back to the hospital. And that is the time you're supposed to be at work. So ilikuwa ni kwanza hii kazi inaisha, unaanza hii inaisha, unaanza hii inaisha. And that is how my life was. And besides that, there was the treatment of ECT. ECT is whereby current is passed through your brain. You are sleeping, you are under anesthesia, mild. And then this ECT, shock currents are passed in your brain while you're sleeping like this on your bed. But they are the caregivers, the health caregivers in hospital. They're going to hold you in the legs, others on the waistline, others on your hands like this, and then you're going to vibrate. The current is passed here. There's a strap it's put on your head, and the little pegs. It's basically like reviving the heart. You see the way heart it started, or jump starting like a vehicle. So it's something like that for the brain, and it is good to have this platform. People who say that Cate ana maringo and anasahawingi watu. ECT, I've had so many sessions of ECT. One of the biggest challenges of ECT or side effects is memory loss, amnesia. There are things, as we speak, I cannot really remember. Hata nifanye nini. And I've made peace with it, rather than crying all the time because I can't remember. And ECT really helped me. Because of ECT, I minimized the use of all those medications you've had. Because coming from that depression, the doctor used to tell me it's like literally bringing you from a hole deep down in the Indian Ocean. So ECT shortens the journey. It's like taking a flight. ECT is the flight, as opposed to the meds, too many meds, and you're taking a tuk-tuk or something like that. And yes, it helped me. It did help me, but it has its effects. I fell back into ailment in 2012, and it was very severe. Those were one of the worst years in my life, 2012, 2013, 2014. And now the regime of treatment of institution changed earlier. From being into mainstream hospital, I was taken to an institution in Nairobi that specifically dealt with matters of mental illness. And that is where the reality just has hit me that I am mentally ill. Because that institution is for people with mental illnesses. It is also a rehabilitation center for people with substance abuse. Partly, I'll say it helped me to accept that, yes, I have a problem. It's not going away until I deal with it headstrong. It also helped me because now of the issue of stigma. Because remember, you are in hospital, you may go to a hospital, you are in a ward whereby we are people of your caliber. Let me borrow that term. So people will watakupa jicho fulani sababu hii ni ward ya watu wako hivi. I don't want to go into that, but stigma is there. And stigma is everywhere, generally. So when I started going to this institution in Nairobi, that I found people who were suffering like me. Some cases were severe, some were acute, some were mild, but the presentation of the ailment was always the same. So it reached a point, we used to sit down with my doctor, I'm unwell, I could sit down and feel I'm not feeling well. The way I'm feeling, this, that, the other, and when I go to the hospital, surely I'll be admitted. That was the extent. But all this time I was fighting this disease because of my son. Because let me tell you, there's a time in 2012, because of being so sick, taking so much medication, and the disease kept recurring, I went into my room and hanged myself on the windows sill, grills. My son was in school, was in class, around class 4. When he came from school, the house girl wasn't around. I hadn't gone to work. By then I had stopped working. The boy came and he's the one who called people for help. It is not once my son has seen me like that. And that boy, you know yourself, may God bless you. May God give you the grace to overcome what you've seen. And I know you need therapy, and I've tried so many remedies. I've tried herbal remedies to get well so that I can be there for my son and then I can go back to school. There's a time I'd gone back to TUK to do, I love cooking. I'm gifted in cooking. So I wanted to do institution management. I only did a 1-year hiatus. I fell ill that time because of VCT, because of the medication. I couldn't put something in my memory and I had to drop out of school. So I've always felt so worthless, and I was striving to get well so that I can be something or somebody for my son and for myself. And that did happen. So one time when I was in the institution, the mental institution, the people used to come and talk their stories and give their stories. And one time, my son came to visit me on a weekend. I was still in primary school. And I started realizing he used to come and he's the one who used to, Mom, you're drooling. Mom, wipe yourself. Because when you take medication like that, and I'm talking about my own personal case, I'm not vindicating treatment because I'm here to advocate for treatment for mental health. Advocating. People need treatment. But you see, for my case, I was taking so much medication. And the time I used to drool. The same thing called, this, I don't know, it's called, I don't know, it's akathisia, something like that. You wake up, You're in the middle of waking up and then umekwama hapo. When you bend down, mucus is running like it's water. So you can imagine even sweating. My bedding, whenever I visited somebody, I rarely went anywhere. I didn't have a social life, as you asked me. I didn't. I hated myself and I hated what was going on. And I kept remembering who I was because I used to meet with people who knew me. And they were like, you weren't like this. You are not the Cate we knew. So, but I want to be that Cate you people knew. I'm fighting to be like, how do I get out of this? And part of what I was going through, I came to realize recently, I was going through all that so that I may be able to reach out to somebody out there to know that they're not alone. Because people need to know about mental illness. A person like me speaking from experience, there's some things I cannot even be able to explain here that I went through. People with mental illness, they need care. The same care you will give any other patient. Remember when you are telling them, huyu ni mwenda wazimu. Today it could be them, tomorrow it will be you. This thing does not know the social class. It does not know how many degrees or PhDs you have. It does not know your profession, you're a medical. There are medics I've talked to. My encounters in the mental institution I used to go, I met people, high flyers in the society. I can't mention their names, but I'm telling you, people I can see, we call each other their alumni. I'm an alumni of that institution. But when they are back to their senses and they're doing their work, you won't know. Meaning there is hope. There's a time I went to different institutions during my treatment. But there's a time you are in the ward and you know, I became so sensitive to noise. I don't like noise. And maybe there's somebody who's making a phone call. You're sharing the same ward. They are loud and they're playing music with their phones. So you even remember earlier I told you when you are not, because of not sleeping, you become so sensitive that even a needle or a pin dropping somewhere, you feel the vibration here. And when you ring that bell, you need help. I remember there's a lady who told me, a nurse who told me, is it the voices? Maybe you are hearing your voices. But after that, and I told her, it's not the voices, you know, it's the voices in your head. You need to go to sleep. And she was patting me like a baby. But the person who was making that noise is like next to you. And then later, she went and told her, you need to tone down on there because you're disturbing other patients. So you see, you won't call that stigma. What is it? You know, she's assuming because I'm mentally ill, everybody hears voices. It's not true. And yes, I heard voices, but it came from the loud music that lady was playing. Because, you know, she didn't have mental issues, so I think she was having, or hers wasn't that severe. And maybe she got a kick from the loud music. But there are other patients here. Sometimes you're going to the washroom, and you come back, you know, you are dazed because of the medication. Remember, not sleeping made me you're given so much medication so that you can, so it's like you're a zombie, but you're still functioning. And you know, when they are talking and they're like, turn or look at somebody and you see actually in the act of doing that, how will you prove even to the superior person that these nurses were just victimizing you because you are mentally ill? You know, people with mental illness hawasikizangwi. You might present your petition, let me use that word, of something that is very serious and very true, but you are downplayed. But the dangers of that, you're pushing that person into darkness. So when you have a person who is unwell And then they're trying to express themselves out there, and you are trying to hinder them because you've taken them into that institution and dumped them there. You don't want to listen to them. You don't want to walk this journey. Remember, there are issues like psychotherapy, physiotherapy. You are the people who know this patient more than the doctor and the nurses and the cleaners there, the housekeepers, the cleaners there. So when you don't want to listen to them, maybe what is eating them, this is the platform, because there are people who have been healed because of being in such institutions, because they were able to speak out and speak up what is ailing them. The family come together. I've seen many people who have gotten well because of that. The family realized, oh, so it was this serious. We are going to work with you and help. But that is like 10% or 8%. 90% is when, yeah, usimsikize huyu ni mwenda wazimu. Huyu kichwa yake inarukanga. I've seen a situation whereby you are even told, go to the other room. We don't want people to see you that you are in the situation. It's called a situation. Hiyo shida yako. So we don't want people to see you are like that. Because of course the medication will change you. The fact that once you fall ill, you become mentally ill, you are disregarded by the society and you become a social discord. You know, like you are that person. There is you, there is the family or the society, and then there is you. You are not incorporated in the society or in the family or in the whatever setup you are in, because you bring shame to the family. You bring uneasiness. Maybe you are in a gathering somewhere, somebody does not. I've seen that. Nobody wants to sit with you simply because you're mentally ill. So when I'm with my son, he's the only person who is like with me there. He's the one who reminds me, Mom, you are drooling or you are stooping too low, because some of the side effects I experienced, they are so scary. And he's the one who's going to remind you. But others will see you as the zombie. This is the zombie. That this is what she's become, that zombie. This is that person we knew, but now in a different form. I want to reiterate strongly that I'm not here as a victim. I'm no longer that victim. I used to be a victim, and I used to be vindictive, but I came to the conclusion that I have to step up and accept myself and love myself, because I waited for people to love and care and show me comfort and everything, and it never came through. It was just heartache and disappointment and a lot of things. So I'm here not as a victim, but as a victor. And being a victor, any person who's gone into a battle and they win, when they look back, they are able to tell you in the value of this and that. If you read your history books, they'll tell you that value of that place, we fought hard at such a place, we rested like that, and here we are today with our shields and with valor. So people out there don't know. So I'm trying to wear the shoes of people. Right now I'm not on medication, I'm not on treatment, but we call them flare-ups. We call them triggers, we call them triggers, and triggers can happen as a result just something going on around you, somebody belittling you, somebody calling you lame, somebody insulting you, you know. And I'm going to talk to people who do that. You know that what is happening to me today may happen to somebody tomorrow. You've had people who've committed suicide recently, and you are asking yourself, wow, how did that happen? They were mentally ill, but either they were afraid of going to look for help, or they were afraid of what society will think of them when they come out, or it leaks that there are no. So it is the society we need to talk to. First of all, it is awareness that mental illness is here, it's here with us. There are very many forms of mental illnesses. You've heard of bipolar 1 and 2, schizophrenia, you've heard of MDD, you've heard of other severe cases of like severe psychosis and some cases you don't know. I don't know whether you've heard of multiple personality disorder. Somebody has, today I'm Kate, but the next 30 minutes I have an alter ego. People think ni stories are jaba, but believe you me, that disease is there, and such things happen, such cases happen because of acute and severe childhood trauma. Mostly it happens as a result of trauma in childhood, and I've encountered people with such personalities. They can even do, they are monsters, but it is not, I'm not advocating violence, but it is because those people, they are ailing. You've had people who sociopaths and psychopaths, all those are ailments of the head. When I'm going to Mathare to take my medication, I don't want to be branded, huyo ni mwenda wazimu. Even the makanga, the makanga wa matatu, that stage, umeshikia pa, ameenda kwa, unasikia tu comment. Me, there's a time I went to the pharmacy to pick my medication, but it wasn't in Mathare, but that pharmacist, he was so a pessimistic man, and the way he talked to me, it's like he's doing me a favor by dispensing my medication. In a high-end hospital, I had gone for a review after seeing my doctor. He made me wait for an hour. I got so agitated, and every time I went for my medication, I used to tell him, I want to leave. Because, you see, you know yourself, maybe you are behaving, there's a time you have this, it's like tremors, or you're shaking your leg. It's because of the medication. There's a time you're tapping. There's a time you are talking maybe to yourself. So because the society, you are so much afraid of stigma. Me up to now, I'm afraid of stigma much more than the disease itself. Let me tell you point blank. So I want to be given my medication so that I can live, because I'm avoiding stigma, and this is stigma being issued by this entitled pharmacist. The senior pharmacist came and gave him an earful, and I was given my medication, and I was escorted to my means of transport. So you see, that is somebody who's educated, right? But he's dishing it to you. So what if, I've seen an encounter whereby somebody treats you badly, when you go to that institution, unampata huko. Yeah, believe you me, you are in the same house, and you're getting the same form of treatment, even if it's for different illnesses, but you ask yourself, this is the same person who treated me, and you just remain, unakumbuka siku fulani you did this and that and that. Such things are there. And stigma begins in the house. It begins in the plot or the estate or the flats or the apartment you're living in. It begins with that person you brush shoulders with when going down the stairs, or at the kibandaski where you're going to buy your vegetables. If people will know that this person is mentally ill, so assist them rather than disassociating and branding them. Another thing is acceptance. Both the patient and the family or the caregivers. If you accept that my sister has a problem, my brother has a problem, and he's on medication, he's supposed to do this, that, and the other, it will be helpful. I've encountered somebody late last year, a young man in his early 20s, and he had a mental illness. I went to talk to the family to help them. When I read they allowed me to see the report, and I looked at some of the meds, I know them. And I told them, when they go back to the clinic, insist that the previous time he was in hospital, he was given this injection. Because if you allow him to get another injection, he'll be over-medicated. And unfortunately, they weren't equipped, let's say intellectually equipped to do that. And when he came home, this boy the feet were cracked. He was drooling. He was like a zombie. And immediately I knew, because I've walked in those shoes. And I talked to the father, and they said, actually, when we went back to the clinic, we were told he was not supposed to have received this injection because he was given that the other day. And this, I want to talk to people out there. If you need help, call me. I'm available. I'll avail myself. You can buy an exercise book. Find somebody who can be able to write, this is what he was treated on this day. Then it's about keeping records. They will help a lot, because if somebody goes for treatment and they emerge having severe side effects, the society, like you asked me, the society out here of people who don't know about this, they will say, hey, ataenda hospitali apewa hizo dawa antipsychotics, then he'll end up being like so and so, we saw Drew walking around like a zombie. He's doing, there's something called, though it's akathisia, you know, like there's a time you decide to sit down and then you hang there, you kwama. That is something I went through. Me, I developed seizures. I've not told you about that. Because of these medications, there's this ECT, and there's a time I'd gone to Gikomba to shop for, because me naturally I'm a hardworking person, run up and about all the time. I had just left hospital like 2 weeks earlier, and I went, and you know, I collapsed and I had injuries. I have so many injuries in my head because of cutting myself on surfaces. You just frothing there, and you see, when you wake up, I found myself, I had messed on myself. And then I wake up and start crying. Mimi, I have never been sick like this. Me, I grew up knowing if you only lose your mind because umekula kitu ya wenyewe, umekula kitu ya watu. The community I grew up in Kibra, so it taught us not to touch other people's things, because there are people there who don't believe in maybe going to court. So, and here I am now, I've messed myself up. So it's so traumatic. You don't have somebody to share with this. And when you do, you're facing rejection. Me, I faced rejection, but I've come through as a victor, and I've come through as a victor. So to talk to people out there that instead of dishing rejection, embrace them. Tell them it's okay. The treatment is usually about 6 months. They will be able to go back to. You've asked me a question. How did they remember all this? I started keeping a journal. Because of the memory issues, my doctor told me, you know what, you can start writing your experiences, and that is how I've maintained. I have so many books. Some I don't remember where I kept them, but those are the things I keep reading to remind myself of what is going on. Up to date, when I get some, I'm anxious or something, when I don't sleep well, I have the tendency to forget gets worse. Yeah. Going back a little bit, when you fall ill, there's something called serotonin and dopamine. Those are, let me say, they are chemicals in the body that make you who you are when you're not mentally unwell. So because of chemical imbalance of those, that's why I fell ill. That can happen as a result of excessive stress. Stress as a result of environment, post-traumatic stress disorder, that's why it is called PTSD and such. And so the fact that the environmental issue played the role, but you see, growing up, we also have issues, challenges as a child. And when you grow as an adult, you know, responsibilities grow, and you are not in the right environment, or you are not in the conducive environment. What is going to happen? It exacerbates. You say it's a medical term. Why? Ka daktari. It exacerbates the already existing problem you're having. So changing the environment helped, but you still have to change so much. And then there's a situation, it reached, there are some things or people I couldn't change. So I had to learn to live without them. And others I have learned not to engage. I can't avoid them. They'll always be there in your life. So it is disengaging with them. So that when the stressors alarms come up, I don't play. There are others I've decided to totally and absolutely cut off. Totally. Like even when we meet, I cannot talk to you. You see, and that has helped me in so many ways. But you see, forgiveness plays a major role. I'm not saying I was perfect, but somebody should not subject you into going into that. No, that's very wrong. And you forgive somebody not because you want them in your life, but because you want to heal. When you forgive them does not mean you want them in you, and you won't allow them. Even in this platform, I won't allow them, because you don't want to go back there, and you don't want to remember those things. And then something else has helped me is talking about mental illness. Initially, when people asked what's wrong with Kate, the answer was anaumangwa na kichwa. I want to talk to on camera today. Kate, you kichwa, you used to hear Kate was having issues with headaches. Headaches, it's not headaches. Kate has been suffering and battling major depressive disorder. It is a mental illness, and I've been on medication about it. I am here to talk about it because I am well, and it can happen to anybody, and it is not the end of the world if you are unwell. There is hope. Look at me. You won't say that I was suffering from that. So with proper treatment and care, you will be seated here at Shared Moments telling a story, but as a victor. And talking about I know there are people who will have problems with me talking about this. Juu nimewani kama I've put them out there. But this is no longer about them. It is about me, and it is then about others like me who don't know they're like me, others who want help discreetly, as long as it is help. And the people in the society who do not know about this, but they want to know. Because I've also realized people want to know about mental illness, the symptoms, what to expect after you see your doctor, the side effects of the medication, how to treat that person. But they do not have a platform where they can get this. When somebody comes from Mathare, then what next? For clinic from Bagathi or Mathare or wherever. What? First of all, that medication, most of the medication, because they usually interchange the medicines, and some of these medication may be used to treat 1 or 2 or 3. So, first of the issue of the side effect of weight gain, but it is because you eat a lot. Remember, they are balancing chemicals in your brain. So as they balance, there are some things will go higher because that aspect of the brain that tells you to eat wasn't sick. So you'll end up eating more. They get thirsty a lot. Sometimes they may get moody. Sometimes they want to associate with people out there, but people are not embracing them. When you don't embracing and welcome them, they become reclusive. It hinders their healing, and it hinders their ability to socialize. Up to now, I still battle with self-esteem issues as a result of the mental illness, up until now. But that is something I'm working on. Mental illness is a work in progress. It takes a 3-pronged approach. There is the institution, the health institution that is dispensing the medication, proper diagnosis. We find people they're being treated for bipolar, for depression, yet they have bipolar. It's happening in this Kenya. But the family does not know. If they are aware of the symptoms, of the difference, of the overview look of such ailments, they'll be able to communicate with their doctors. The doctors, the caregivers themselves, the health providers, they're also overwhelmed. Dealing with mental ill patients is not an easy thing. My doctor told me, even him, he has to go and decompress somewhere. So we may be able to how can we help them to decompress so that they may be able to be productive to the society. And then, shunning stigma from the from the health institutions, from the vehicles we board when you're traveling, from our homes. I told you it begins from where you live, the community, the people you interact with. People, you need to learn that this thing is there and it's as real. Let us not talk about, I tell you, commit suicide. Most cases where you find somebody committed suicide, they were suffering, and it didn't start then, just as it had a lengthy issue of a very long time, but they're afraid of going to the hospital and stuff like that. So when we talk about it does not matter where you are. So let us not come and say, I suffered from mental illness, but what else? What else have you experienced that can be put out there that can change somebody who has a patient in the house? Or somebody, you can see this person is changing, they're not showering. There are people who, I used to shower even 3 times. The same way I was stabbing and cutting myself is the same way I was showering to remove the pain I was feeling. See, that is also an illness. How can you shower 3-4 times? See, so it's a matter of learning widely about these issues. If there's somebody who's sick, let us keep records. A simple exercise book. Last time they had an injection. Let us deal with the side effects. Because when you tell the doctor, like me, I had a very good doctor. I tell him, Doctor, this is not working for me. So, Kate, what do we work with now? You tell me. It gives me something else. Let it be create a forum whereby we can be able to discuss treatment without fear of stigma or without fear of telling the doctor thinking that you know too much. Because you as the caregiver, another thing I want to reiterate, when somebody is going for review, you are always supposed to go accompanied. Me, there's a time I used to have issues with memory. There's a time I was going for clinic at a hospital in those sides of Parklands, and I boarded the wrong vehicle. There's a time I almost got hit by a vehicle along Gong Road. Why? I was crossing the road. I forgot to look left, right, and left. See, that is how severe I was sick. As we speak right now, I'm off medication for almost 3 years now, going towards the 3rd year. I've been trying to exercise of course, to lose weight. There's some side effects I'm still grappling with, and some I've chosen to live with them. My passion as we speak right now is to create awareness about mental illness, but not only awareness, to work at the ground with people who are suffering and who are both, like the way you say, people who are infected or affected by HIV/AIDS. I'm talking about people who are affected by this ailment and people who are suffering from it. I'm talking about the patient and I'm talking about the family as well. Because of my own experiences, both the positive and the negative, I want to bring it forth to the community and to the world out there so that people may gain hope. And people may seek help without fear of stigma or the fear of being victimized. I want people let people know that acceptance is okay and it is part of healing. Acceptance goes both ways. It goes 1, 2, the person who is unwell. Remember, there's a time I couldn't accept that mimi niko hivyo. And I had a very bad attack the second time in less than a month. Because of those challenges, I have never been formally employed. And like I mentioned earlier, my passion, I have a thing for cooking. Yes, at the moment I'm not employed. This takes a toll on you. I've been running businesses. They collapse because of these challenges, and then you start something and then it goes. But there are some things that they've not been taken away. That, and there's also writing, creative writing. I like writing a lot. So if there's somebody else out there who will want services of somebody, I will appreciate 100-fold. I've encountered many people, even the place where I live. I'm called to talk to somebody who is in the brink of breaking up. I've never done psychology, but if I get the sponsorship, I would love to do it. And anything to do with mental illness, psychology, psychiatry, anything, I would love to do it. Because I've realized I have it in me, yet I didn't know I had it in me. I want to talk to my son. I want to say this: you are the apple of my eye. You have been there for me when nobody else was. You've saved my life quite a number of times. We've had good times and we have had awful times. I am proud of you. You are the reason why I'm seated here today, because you inspired me to take my medication, to think positively and to believe in myself, even when I couldn't believe in myself, and even when nobody else believed in me. Right now, this is where we are today, thanks to you. Continue reaching out to people there. I know what you do out there. You touch souls of many people. Continue doing that, and God is going to bless you. With my husband, I want to thank you for everything that you have helped me with, for your support, and may God bless you in all your endeavors. To my mother, I know there are times we wouldn't even see eye to eye, but you are the one person who has understood me, and you have become a buffer in the family because of the ones who didn't understand what was going on in my life. Everything you've sacrificed for me, every help you've given me, every encouragement, even being patient with me, because yes, there are times have been very difficult. From the bottom of my heart, I want to appreciate you. I honor you, I cherish you, and may God continue blessing you so that you may see the fruits of what you instilled and what you helped me achieve, and for supporting me during these awful times of my life, and even now when I'm in a different platform and a different person. May God bless you.